Oh, it's been a wild week, survivors. It is I, Gabe Blythe, a little lightheaded, whoa. To you, your best friend and grand storyteller. To RQ, someone who is in debt to her for saving my life. Look at me being so cavalier with life or death moments. Is this what growth feels like? Hang on. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. Could still be some of that adrenaline in me. Woo! Okay. Catching my breath. So what happened, Gabe? Thank you for asking, by the way. I was afraid I'd never get to tell the story. I've mentioned our urban exploring, how we go into houses looking for supplies, office spaces, however, have turned more into a game than anything else. It's one thing to be a tourist in someone's home finding common threads, but it's still their home, and it feels that way when you enter, so we give it a bit of respect. We store journals aside, family possessions and whatnot getting put into one place for the family to find when, not if, but when, they return home. Office buildings don't need that. Just another shrine to a capitalistic deity, RQ loves to say when talking about tacky or cheap architecture. So we went together into one. Huge glass building. Not far from here, from the community college, just down the street. RQ said that it was a discount Louvre. Mainly because the glass building was more of an open roof and the building was several floors below the ground. The glass roof is a front. We noticed some raven activity around the building a few weeks ago. A lot of them would fly around the space, and the ones alerting RQ would lead them to a section where a large section of broken glass was. One of the others had broken glass while trying to get in, and it was clear that that was their main path in and out for a while. Glass shattered mainly on the inside floor, but you could see shiny little remnants as the others would file out. Until one day, the ravens stopped leading us here. We didn't see any ravens circling the building, and all the ravens were accounted for, so we didn't lose any of them. The others that were clearly hiding out here must have just moved on. After, I think it was like 3 days of no signs of life, we decided it was safe enough, and we went exploring. When we enter these kind of buildings, we often ask ourselves what we think they did in this office. Was it a place that they designed things? Was it a startup? And how would they disrupt the industry using desks made from recycled terracotta or something? This building was clearly a hub for a lot of different jobs. Important people got a door on their office with a window. Everyone else was obviously tucked underground. Workers must be not seen nor heard. Just make the profit. I sound like RQ, truly. We saw display cases for things that they made or partners that they have worked with. It's hard to say what they were doing exactly. Lots of signage for the local uni and signs of collaboration, and seems like a company that's just a middleman. So, even I would think a waste of time and space. RQ grabbed a few souvenirs, of course, mostly by smashing display cases. It was also a way to gauge if there's still any active violent ones or others around. Make a loud noise while we are close to an exit, and after 5 minutes of silence, and if no one shows, you're probably in the clear. And then we did what we'd like to do. We started exploring. There were a lot of signs of others using this space. A greeter's desk in the center space was all turned over, like any object in the other's path is really just a temporary obstacle. Either they walk over it or toss it out of the way. Areas of this space were still pristine, minus over a year's worth of dust and misuse piling up. But you could still see a trail, of chaos. It wasn't destruction, really, just toppled over desks and chairs that were in the way. To allow myself a tangent, I read this thing about desired paths. When someone sets up a beautiful walking path, but it takes the longest way possible, people will just start walking the path that makes the most sense to them, making a new desired path. This is what that was like. After about a year of this, you would think that a handful of others wouldn't make that noticeable of a path. But this kind of path would take decades to make with 20 people. Clearly, the others were coming and going in droves. Definitely gave us pause. What do you do with that information in that moment? Again, we hadn't seen anything. No one came running when we made ourselves known. So RQ decided she wanted to see where they were going. And I was curious enough to throw caution to the wind. We followed the footpath. Mostly it was across fancy cubicles with family portraits or silly posters. Very clearly, this is the place you take investors to see how it's all made. This team is our family. Look how well we treat everybody. But like every story that we have, we were only on the surface level. That path led us down 2 sub-basement floors. Some bodies dead on the ground as they didn't make the jump from the stairs. The desired footpath became a cautionary tale. The door from the stairwell into this new office space was broken off of its hinges. It laid on the floor like some cartoon safe that fell, and everyone just went about their day. This is where you could store the workers like sardines, packed together as inhumanely as possible, without raising any flags. Still not sure what they were doing. My guess is a call center or some sort of customer support. RQ is kind of out of touch, and her theories can be, at the least, extreme. I think this one was, quote, deprivation tank to create a vacuum causing forced groupthink leading to unification of goal-oriented profit-making. RQ, ladies and gentlemen, Queen of Ravens and comedy. Eventually the basement led us to what normally is found in a basement, a facilities closet. Huge heating units and water lines, thousands of cables for power and internet bundled into pipes to journey across the entire building. I was caught off guard, and I thought of my mother, and I had wondered, had she worked on this? Definitely would have been up her wheelhouse, and this company clearly wanted to pay the least amount possible. As I was frozen in awe, RQ swung the torch around and followed the desired path to a broken-down chain-link fence. The broken fence kind of made sense, based on the number of others and pressure and weight and whatnot. They're not, invincible. But this is when we started to see the black ichor. It was dried in places, wet pools in others. The fence had drops of the stuff dried in motion, like this diseased icicle. Putrid scent started to make our eyes water. Not our first time coming across sewage pipes that had broken due to lack of maintenance, so we busted out our gas masks and looked around some more. At this point, we were here. What harm could happen? The thing is that sewage has a very specific smell, and this did not smell like sewage. If you are a Utah survivor, you know about these blossom trees that are everywhere. And they smell like, well, to be family considerate, not good. I think the most polite comparison was equated to rotting fish. And I can tell that some of you Utah survivors know exactly what I'm talking about. Gabe pretends. The scent in the basement reminded me more of that, instead of the reek of sewage. I noticed that the ichor was in a trail, different from the desired footpath. It looked like this violet one was just pacing. in circles in varying sizes. It's hard to say how old any of it was, but there was one path that was still wet and had pooled. You can tell because it still was shiny. The dried stuff looked rough and flat and would sometimes crack. I was following these circles when, out of nowhere, something pulled my collar. It was pure silence, walking around, and then a tight pull, and then I was flat on my back. I looked up, and there was a violent one, hand balled into a fist around my collar. I tried to roll to my stomach, but only ended up choking myself with my shirt. I heard him growling, and I could only watch in horror as the black ichor dripped from his mouth around my head. It was patient and quiet, and that's what scared me more than anything. I've never seen one be so quiet. Violent ones... I call them violent ones because they started violent till the end. The next thing I heard was RQ's furious steps towards me. I didn't have a chance to even cry out before I saw her flying kick this guy back to yesterday. She leaped over me, planting both feet in his chest. It crunched. Bones probably weak from lack of nutrition, and this violent one started wheezing. That was the loudest sound he made. He tried to hold on to me, and I was pulled with him for a moment, but eventually my shirt tore as he stumbled. He stumbled into some leftover aluminum vent piping stuff, and it was the loudest thing we have ever heard. I brushed myself off as quick as I could, and just as I got to my feet, RQ was already following our new friend, but stopped a few feet from where he fell. He didn't just tumble into a pile of debris. He fell into a large tunnel, and it looked handmade, literally by hand. There was a hole in the cement flooring, and it was stained with finger-length scratches filled with either blood or ichor. The drop was deeper than you would expect, deep enough that our new friend wasn't moving after that fall. And this new open hole that was hidden away, we discovered was the source of the smell. Black ichor dripping from the open hole. And this tunnel went on and on. At that point, neither of us were brave and or stupid enough to go investigate. We're adding this to our list of buildings to visit only once we have enough light to blind Vegas. We decided to bar off the space, but we didn't have anything to really fill or cover the hole. So we started back out. We tried making jokes, RQ saying stuff like how I owe her a life debt. But our words couldn't really hide the strangeness of it all. It was hidden. Who knows how long the tunnel goes on for? This violent one was planning. Is that why they just seemed to vanish? And we've never seen that much black ichor around. Of course, RQ had to nitpick. Whoa, that's a lot of ichor. And RQ says, "You stupid fool, it's pronounced ichor." And then she turned into a bird and flew away. True story. Okay. So she made fun of me for a few minutes. That was the moment we tried to let the strangeness just kind of wash away. Couldn't be helped. We told Xander, and of course he freaked out, and his first instinct was to go check it out with Excalibur, guns akimbo. Didn't take more than a look to bring him back to his senses. He got really embarrassed and spiraled for a few seconds. He's fine, just shocked how easy old habits come back. For now, we are avoiding that block. We don't know where the tunnel leads or how many violent ones were around to cause that much pooling. But we are doing what we normally do. Be safe and report what we see to everyone. So, that's my last few days. How are you doing? Oh, you followed that tunnel and it led you to a forgotten civilization of frog people. Knew it. We have fun here. If you think we should have gone into the tunnel, well, come tell me to my face. And to your face, I will tell you that it's stupid. But then grateful that you're here, and remember that adventuring alone is the stupid idea. We need you around. I'd like you here. And, you aren't alone. And you don't have to be.